Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today we have the pleasure of having Scott Beebe, who is going to talk today about the 4 Ps. And I'll let him explain that. But anyway, Scott, thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, Ken, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and your company, your journey on how you got to where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So the joke that we like to tell is I was coming out of college. I was a telemarketer, a pastor, and a drug salesman. So it's kind of the start of a pretty bad joke. But all three are true. And through that, gone through a series of different sort of careers that led to a point where I was actually leading a really small international non-governmental organization. And that had sort of a board implosion in 2015. That was on a Friday in February 2015. And then that coming Monday, I actually called 2 friends of mine who were both business owners. And I'd had some background in helping develop vision, mission, values, some of the purpose elements of an organization, and walked them through a couple of workshops. And then from that, they were like, this is the most clarity we've ever had. We need this clarity in the other systems of our business, but we had not built anything by that point. So they literally allowed me to coach them while we built the system that goes through. And so today, at the time of this recording, we're a team of 12 full-time W-2 team members, and we serve about 104 clients around North America. And most of those clients are between 5 and 100 employees. So we're usually in that space. And we do one thing, Ken, and that is liberate owners from chaos to make time for what matters most.
Good deal. Let's just dive in here and talk about the 4 Ps and why they're important and go from there.
Yeah, sounds great. So we call them the 4 pain points because these are what, as we've gone around the country and as we've worked with clients, we've realized there are 4 primary pain points, not necessarily in this order. In fact, we would go to an order, we'd probably move some things around, but the way we say them are purpose, people, process, and profit. So any owner we talk to and say, hey, what's the biggest headache? What's the biggest challenge that you're dealing with right now? Usually number 1 and number 2 are people and profit. But then at some point, once we start to drill down, we'll get to the point of purpose and process that we get there. But we usually start with purpose in the reality because there's an old adage that says this, where there is no vision, people scatter, which makes sense because where there's no vision, they never attach to anything. And so if we're detached from something, then we start to sort of scatter from that thing that we're not attached to. And then there's another old wisdom saying that says, write the vision down so that those who read it may run. And when we talk about purpose, there are really a few elements of that. One is a vision story, a mission statement, and a set of unique core values. Now, I know we could roll our eyes at that and go, yeah, I've heard it 1,000 times. Well, here's the differentiation that I think is helpful. A vision story is not a sentence. It's not a paragraph. It's multiple pages in length. In fact, our vision story today currently is 9 pages in length. And what a vision story is a detailed snapshot of the future of the business. So just keep that out there. So then we back down and go, okay, what are unique core values in contrast to that? Well, the unique core values are a set of 3 to 5 either words or phrases that you come up with that are unique to you that guide decision-making. So they're sort of the curbs along the side of the road, and that road is what's taking you to that future snapshot of what you see in the vision. Well, then ultimately go, well, where does mission come in? Well, mission is the reason why we're going to the destination in the first place. So I could say, hey, I'm going to Lake Tahoe. There's my vision. But if I want to get very specific, I'm going to a beautiful mountain town. It's on a pristine lake. It's, snow-capped peaks. I give a lot of detail about this. So it's not just Lake Tahoe, because I don't know anything about that. But if you start to give me descriptors of it, now I'm enticed. I want to go. And the unique core values are the roads to get there. But why? Why am I going there? Well, I'm going there to see Ken. Okay. And so a mission statement is 10 words or less, power-packed, and it tells us exactly why. So those 3 elements put together, that sort of defines what we loosely call culture. A lot of business people use the word culture.
Yeah.
We usually think it means ping pong tables and beanbag chairs, but in reality, it's a set of predefined, plantable ingredients that we put in so that when we submit it to time, that's what grows out.
Yeah, Scott, I used to, 20 years ago, I thought all this was hogwash. But what I've seen over the last 15 years is, if you don't have a vision, then how you can't share with people to help you get there.
That's
your
right.
vendors, your people, your executives, your staff. And I like the purpose because I think there's a guy named Cynic. He wrote a book called The Why. If you
Yeah.
don't know why you're doing what you're doing, then I think you got a problem.
Yeah.
But I'm really big on core values. That's kind of like my big deal. And I got introduced to it about 20 years ago by this IBM exec at my law firm. And he said they're non-negotiables, Ken.
That's right.
And if you don't hire people, which we're going to talk about later, that align with your core values, you're going to have a problem. And it was funny because this is the thing I'll remember of everything he taught me is he said that I was having a hard time grasping it. And he said, Hitler, do you think Hitler had core values? I said, hell no. Oh, yeah, he did. He did. They were bad ones.
Yeah,
They
that's
were
right.
bad ones, but they were non-negotiables. I mean,
Yeah.
so he did have core values. They were just bad ones. I mean,
Yeah. He was a highly influential leader. There's no doubt about it. I don't like the way he influenced at all.
yeah.
But he was highly influential. If we take it to politics, on the day you and I are recording this, it happens to be election day. And we always say this, if you go back to 2016 and ask an audience a question, hey, what was the one sentence mission statement of the Hillary Clinton campaign? Nobody can tell you. They'll come up with all kind of stuff. Nobody can tell you. And so then you go back and ask the question, what is the one sentence mission statement of the Donald Trump campaign? And the whole room can tell you what it is. It's to make America great again, right? And so they've taken that mission. And people ask, well, is that why you think he won that particular election? I don't know, but I do think it's why he didn't lose it was because he had such radical clarity, whether you agree with the clarity or not, it's irregardless. But he had radical clarity. So there was one message to rally around instead of four competing messages or anything like that. And so since you've seen people have a starker message around that, but be careful. Vision stories are powerful. We're now about 6 months away from the fulfillment of our next vision in our business. It'll be June 1, 2025. And lo and behold, we're going to land where we said we were going to land. And so be careful what you envision and be careful what you write down. Michael Gerber from California, he said this, if you don't write it down, you don't own it. And so we say it a little bit more firmly. If you don't write it down, it doesn't exist.
It's funny. I used to tell my paralegals and case managers, I said, if you don't put it in notes, it didn't happen.
That's right. That's exactly right. Especially in your world. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. You got to CYA.
Yeah.
But we could talk all day about culture, but what I have seen, Scott, is that the firms that are the most successful and grow the quickest, there's two. I mean, probably all four of these are 5 or 6, but I think the top two things is they got really good people, they got a really good culture, and that's probably why they got good people too, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen it. I've seen firms. We've got firms in Pilma that have grown. They're doing 4 weeks. Started doing an agenda for our summit next year, and one of the guys went from 300,000 to 18 million. And another one that he's got a great culture, and he went like from 5 million to 20 million in like 5 years. So I mean, what I'm saying is, and I look at why are they doing it, some of the other ones are not. And I mean, it's a little bit of everything, but I think the two main things is they got really good people culture. They got good leaders, and they got the processes. It's scalability. Let's talk about that processes because you can't scale without process. I know that.
Yeah, no, we get asked quite a bit. Can you process relationship? Can you process culture? Can you process those things? And I would argue that most healthy relationships are actually built on process. So take a marriage, for instance. My wife and I, what we try to do is we try to do a date night at least once a week or once every other week. That's scheduled. We try to do an overnight once a quarter. That's scheduled. We try to do a week or so away once a year. That's scheduled. Why do we do those things? In fact, at the time of this recording, in about a week and a half, we'll be going for our quarterly overnight. And it's our year-end quarterly overnight, which means that we'll take our family vision, we'll take a bunch of these goal-setting things that we've got, and we'll start to work through those. And we'll take our financial barn to work through that. That's all processed. And so you could say, well, God, is your marriage not kind of robotic? And go, I don't know what you would call it, but I would call it intentional at that point. And so when we think about people, purpose, process, profit, if it's not processed, then it will likely not get done because there are 3 core elements of good, healthy process. We actually studied Ernest Shackleton, the great explorer who went down to Antarctica, you can read this in the book called Endurance by, I think it's Alfred Lansing, and they got stuck in the ice pack there in the Weddell Sea and got stuck I think it was around January 1915, 28 men, including Shackleton. and it was stuck on the sea. There's no woods, there's no trees, there's no, forage to be able to go out and shoot deer or anything like that. All they had were their supplies and any seal or anything that would come up. And so they were stuck. Their boat ended up sinking, crushing and sinking November. So do the math. January 1915. And then in November, their boat sinks. So they're stuck that whole time. And then they were on life rafts. And the last man was finally rescued. I think it was October 1916, over almost 2 years after they had gotten stuck. And this is the craziest part, is not one man died. How did that happen? And so what we went back as we found is there were three primary principles that we saw. Number one was repetition. He held to the same schedule every single day. Number two was predictability, in that he didn't waver on that schedule. And number three was meaning. He tried to infuse meaning in everything that he did. And so if we can take those core elements of repetition, predictability, meaning, we spell them out into RPMs, the RPMs of great leadership, then in the idea of repetition, the people that come to work for us, because here's the thing, Ken, a lot of people say, well, nobody wants to work anymore. These younger generations don't want to work anymore. Our pushback is that, do they not want to work anymore? Or they just don't want to work for you because you live in chaos, and they don't want to live in your chaos, because younger generations have options that we did not have 20, 30, 40 years ago. And so they have options now. And so a lot of it is just, they don't want to work in your chaos, and they can have options of clarity to be able to work in. And so when we start to build those things out, purpose, people, process, and profit, and the process element, here's a simple action item to do for process, is take the four systems of every business. Law firms have this. Every single law firm has this. Law firms have a marketing system. They have a sales system. They have a operations system or a legal services system, and they have an administrative system to keep the thing going. So take those four systems of every single law firm, and all you have to do is write at the top of a sheet, marketing, sales, ops, admin. And then below it, start listing out every single process you can think that it takes to run that business. For instance, marketing, website, social channels, realtor outreach, whatever kind of law you do, expert outreach, all of these sorts of things, you start putting them down. Those are the processes that it takes to run the marketing product. And so thinking through that, when you talk at the word culture is really nothing more than the intentional, repetitive, predictable, and meaningful planting of healthy ingredients that you want to see grow out so that your people can latch on and they can be a part of something that's repetitive, predictable, and meaningful.
And what I've always said is, if you don't have processes, then you're going to be held hostage. But, and it also, it's hard to scale because you cannot onboard these people. You don't do it by person, you do it by position.
Right.
One of the big deals we like to do at Pilma, and I teach my lawyers, is do an organizational chart, not by people, but by position, of where you want your firm to look like 5 years from now. And let's go from that. And then, we'll reverse engineer and figure out how to get you there. But you gotta know where like you said, you gotta know where you're going, right? Your vision.
Yeah. And so think about this. If we have a phrase and it says this: roll first, people agnostic. Roll first, people agnostic. What does that mean? That the people don't matter? No. It actually means that the people matter a lot. So much so that we want to create clarity in the role so that we can look at the people and go, okay, which person best fits this role? Because the business needs the role. And just like a human body needs a bone, a particular bone in this spot, we don't need a random person to come in and fill a gap. Hey, we hear people all the time go, hey, if you find a great person, bring them in. Whoa, hold on. If you find a great person and they happen to be a thigh bone and you already have two really good thigh bones, why are you bringing in a third if the business is not calling for that? Now, if you need somebody in waiting and all those sorts of things, we could sit and argue about all that. But the reality is that we've got to be role first, people agnostic when we're building the structure of the organization. Once we've got the structure in place, org charts, job roles, et cetera, then we can go find the people to match the infrastructure.
I totally agree. You were talking about people, and I hear this is the biggest problem that I see our lawyers are having, is finding good people and holding on to them.
Yep.
And so tell me your answer to that one, because that's the tough one. I mean, I've got my ideas, but this show's not about me. It's about you today. So
yeah, well, I'm not even going to posit ideas. I'll just posit what we see. We've got legal clients, firm clients that we work with. And so here's what we see. Is we see a lot of excuses being made. These people aren't good. These people don't work. These people don't want to work. They don't want. And then when we get behind the scenes, it's a circus. behind the scenes. You walk in the front door and everything looks great. It's a law firm. It's going to look beautiful. You're going to have somebody kind there, smiling, that sort of thing. But if we took that person out and put somebody else in, there's no process to follow. It's just, hey, be nice. Well, that's not a process. If you look at Bill Walsh, the legendary head coach of the 49ers way back in the day, and there's a book about this, you can go read about it. Bill Walsh was really the first coach to put in play the idea of scripting plays going into a game on Sunday. All week, they would script the first 10 to 15 plays. Why? So that when they went on Sunday, it took the jitters out, right? You get all excited, you're wound up, the game's just starting, and you just make dumb mistakes when you go in. So why don't we practice these first 10 to 15 plays all week so that when we go in, it's clockwork. And now we get settled in. And so it was found out that Bill Walsh not only scripted the plays for the team, but if you called into the 49ers organization and they answered the phone, hi, thank you for calling the 49ers. My name's so-and-so, whatever. That script that they used, and they used a script, that script was written by Bill Walsh. The head coach of the football team was actually scripting out top to bottom your experience with the 49ers football operation. And so when you think about every step of your law firm, from the time a person comes in the door until they sit down and they go over a filing or closing or some sort of legal documentation, whatever they're doing, consultation, or they interact with the back office, or they interact with the attorney, or they're going into the courtroom or whatever, is that scripted out so they know, screw they, me, do I know, because I am a client, do I know what to expect when I walk in? Do I know what to expect when I walk in the front door? Do I know what to expect when I walk into the meeting room? Do I know what to expect after the meeting's done? So I'm not sitting there guessing going, hey, where are estate planning documents? You know, here we are getting to the end of the year. We're pushing every one of our 104 clients right now to go talk to their estate planning attorneys about their estate plan for the coming up year. Well, most of those clients, we're under no illusion. Most of them are going to go to their EP attorneys and walk in to chaos and just go, yeah, I'll try to get it done and, whatever. Instead of going, no. Hey, thank you for coming here. You want us to do a review of your estate planning documents? Here's what we need. We need 1, 2, 3, 4. If you can get it to us by tomorrow, we will have this put out for you by next Wednesday. And if not, you will hear from us clearly as to what that looks like. Running a law firm is all about setting expectations from top to bottom. From the moment I walk in the door, I make a phone call until I'm wrapped up with that particular service. And so if you can start to put in play and document every step, oh, Scott, there's thousands. I know. I know. Remember, 80% of a firm owner's personal net worth is in the law firm. It's locked away. Why not build the value of that law firm? And 80% of the value of the law firm is in the documented processes. In other words, can I run the firm when you're not there?
And here's something else too. I think you need to create the law firm, any business like you're going to sell it, whether you sell it or not. And here's what I've seen. I've had some lawyers come and they were thinking about exiting, and you got to get everything in line, get everything. And then once they got everything, processes and everything, and got it to where it could run 6 months a year without them, and they didn't want to sell it. You know what I'm saying? Because
yes.
And it's, I've sold 2 law firms, and I've had Pillman. I've had some people talk to me about buying Pillman. I mean, I've got it running the way I wanted to run.
Yeah, it becomes an annuity at that point if you do it right. Yeah, and we tell people this too. Everybody will exit their firm at some point. Everybody will. And if you don't have a plan for that exit, if you don't have that thing running itself, then the government has happily put a plan in place for you. And it's called probate. They'll run you through it. They're happy to do it because they get a sizable cut of that, unless we can build the system and put the plan in place for that. But too many of us get to our 50s, our 60s, our 70s, and we just go, oh, yeah, I'll sell it one day. And we've never built it to sale. And we show it up and we put it up on Facebook Marketplace. Not really, I'm using a metaphor here. But we put it on Facebook Marketplace. The paint's chipped, the tires are blown, and the car won't even crank when it gets in there. Of course, nobody wants to buy that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely agree. So we talked about people, we talked about process, we talked about purpose and the mission and all that. So profit.
Yes. Yeah. So the profit element is usually a book I'll recommend. We recommend this to everybody. It's a book called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. If you've not read it, if anybody listening has not read it, please, as soon as you are done with this podcast, just go buy it. Go buy the Audible, go buy the book, go read it, and just start doing it. Every firm we work with has subdivided their bank accounts. That's all you do. It's like Dave Ramsey for business. You subdivide your bank accounts every day, and it's easy for law firms because there's no cost of goods. It's so easy for law, unless you got consultants or whatever, but still it's super easy because all you do is set up a consultant's account. So you set up 5, 6, 7, 8 accounts. Whoa, that's a lot of accounts. Settle down. It's no big deal. It's just regular bank accounts. And your bookkeeper's not going to be freaked out because it's just a couple more transactions. Your CPA needs to calm down. It's just a couple more transactions. And what we found is there's not been one person, Ken, not one person. And we've coached hundreds now over the last 10 years. There's not one business owner that has come back to us after we've subdivided their bank accounts and they've started working the process that has told us, wow, I wish I'd have never done this. Because all you're doing is taking every dollar that comes in, you're cutting it up and you're putting it in its isolated home, in a home for operating expense, for quarterly estimated taxes, for your owner's compensation, for your profit, for cost of goods if you got outside consultants, for capital reinvestment, for whatever it is. You have these little buckets. Well, Scott, can't we do that on a spreadsheet? Yeah, you could, but there's a psychological impact you miss out on, and statistically, you won't. You won't do it. And so it's a whole lot easier if you can just take every dollar that comes in, go ahead and split it up. And the good news is lawyers are in great shape to do this, especially those that have escrow accounts. The real estate firms, people like that have escrow, they're already used to doing this anyway. They take money in, they put it in a holding bank account over here, and then they deploy it when ready. Same thing works in subdividing your bank accounts for a law firm.
Studied Vern Harnish and the scaling up, and his big deal was revenues for, gross revenues for show, net profits, for sanity, but cash flow is the big deal. That's the king or queen, because when you run out of cash, it's all over with. So I think doing what you're saying, kind of helps you keep your cash flow steady too.
Yeah.
Because I know personally, I didn't do it when I was growing so fast, 100% a year, for about 5 or 6 years. And I had borrowed like $500 million. And then like the 5th year, I was doing great, made like $1 million. And I paid that loan off, $500,000. But then I had to pay income tax on $1 million. So I was broke. I made $1 million and I was broke because I had to pay taxes on family income.
And this goes back to this time of year. We have what we call prep week in our business. And one of the things we want people to meet with is their tax strategist, because there are some things that you can do that are really exciting, honestly, that can fit your personal vision, like going into real estate, a variety of things that you can do. You can start new businesses and cash flow those new businesses and do some things there. But too many times what we do is we sit and we just look at the growth and we go, we're growing. We're like, yeah, you're about to pay. You're about to eat it if you're not careful. And part of the reason, Ken, that we see the bottom line that has money in it, the net income on your P&L, but we look at the bank account and there's no money in there. Well, because money leaks when we don't subdivide it out. And so that's where what you're saying, theoretically, you shouldn't be broke if you made $1 million. But the reality is the $1 million on the bottom of your P&L, that's what the IRS looks at. And that's what your CPA looks at. But that's not what your bank looks at. In fact, we'll tell people, hey, why don't you print out your P&L, circle the number on the bottom line, slide it across the table at your bank and ask your banker to withdraw that amount. They're going to laugh at you because it's not real money. And so we as business owners deal in a world of cash. So we want to see that cash subdivided out.
I actually met with my financial, whatever you call it, strategist, and I did it in October, because what I found over the years is sometimes it takes time to, like if I want to go buy a certain type of real estate, like he gave me this advice on, go buy this short-term rentals they don't average written over 7 days, do this, and I can accelerate your depreciation, blah, blah, blah. And I said, thanks. I said, that gives me time to go do that, right? And I live in Myrtle Beach, so short-term rentals, VRBOs are easy money.
Yeah.
So, I agree. So, number one, how do you teach this? Do you coach it? Do you do masterminds? Do you do master classes? Do you go in and do consulting? How do you deal with this?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking. So we have an entirely proprietary methodology we've built. It's broken down into 3 phases. We call it base camp, first mountain, second mountain. And our base camp phase is what we call our installation roadmap phase. So we've got a roadmap around those 4 pain points: purpose, people, process, and profit. And then we've got about 36 proprietary tools that we've built in each one of those verticals to be able to walk firm owners through and actually install those tools into their belt so that they've got those there. Then we go into First Mountain, which is our implementation phase, to make sure that they're actually deploying those tools, using those tools, leveraging the org charts with the job roles and all those things. And then from there, we move into an advisory role in Second Mountain to where we start to coordinate their advisors together, CPAs, various attorneys, insurance advisors, tax strategists, et cetera. And we start to help hold conversations between the owner, who's in the center of that circle, and all of their advisors. But we want to do it all together. It's an expensive time, but it's a worthy time when everybody can get together. Because if they're looking to buy something, then we need to go around the circle. All right, CPA, what do you say? Business attorney, what do you say? Estate planning attorney, what do you say? Tax strategist, what do you say? Because everybody's going to have different things. So those are the 3 stages we walk through, and we've got roadmaps for every single one of those stages for those teams. And we are primarily a one-on-one coaching firm.
Okay. So if somebody wants to find out more, how can they contact you?
Yeah, certainly. Just go to mybusinessonpurpose.com. And if you do a /healthy, so mybusinessonpurpose.com/healthy, you can take about a 5-minute healthy business assessment. It'll actually assess the back end health of your systems in the business. And so as long as you answer honestly, it'll give you a good assessment on that. And it'll give you a number range, and it'll kind of give you an idea of where you're at in starting with that. So yeah, just go to mybusinessonpurpose.com/healthy.
Okay, man. Any parting words of wisdom before we close up today?
I think you got to start somewhere. Edison said, vision without implementation is hallucination. And so, Ken and I sit here and talk about all kind of ideas. And go back to Gary Keller. He said, what's the one thing that by doing that one thing makes everything else easier or unnecessary? Well, pick one thing that we talked about. Is it a vision story? Is it a mission statement? Is it a unique core value that you need to work on? Is it an org chart, a job role? Writing out all your processes on one sheet of paper? What is that thing that by doing that one thing makes everything else easy or unnecessary? And lock in and do that one thing.
I agree, Scott. I mean, I put on this big summit every year, and lawyers come up and have like 30 speakers, and they say, hey, man, I got like 25 things. And I always tell them at the end of it, I said, here's the problem. You're going to go back and be all excited, and then life's going to get in the way. I said, you got to pick like the top 2 or 3 and just prioritize one, get that done, then keep prioritizing them, and just not eat it like I eat the elephant, one bite at a time. What I see people do is they try to do too many things at one time, just like you said. And I'd rather have one good idea that I implement than 20 great ideas that never get done, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I see it all the time. I was talking to one of our mastermind members this morning. He said that was his big mental block, and that he started doing no more than 2 projects at a time, and he's getting stuff done now, with his team and everything, Yeah, at Pillman, we do quarterly strategic meetings, and we never have over 3 projects, and we got somebody owns it. We do all the tasks out. We try to get it done in 12, 13 weeks, and that's it. And sometimes it takes 2 quarters to get something big done, like the processes. When we did processes, that took us 6 months, believe it or not. But we had it done, and then we're updating them right now, believe it or not. It's all ongoing deal, right? Because things change.
Yes, they do. And what we encourage people to do with the process is not to be overwhelmed, is to actually have what we call systems mindsets. The next time you do a thing, next time you do payroll, next time you do some sort of personal injury case, next time you do it, capture the process by which you're doing it, so you never have to do it again.
Yeah.
And so if you'll just follow that methodology, you'll be in great shape. But too many people do the thing for the first time, forget to capture it, and now they got to recreate the wheel every time.
Agree. Yep. Screenshot it out, take videos.
That's right.
Memorialize it. There's AI now that'll do this and help you, and then throw it into. So good deal, buddy. This was fun talking. You're talking my language. I like it.
Ken, that's great. Hey, thanks for putting this podcast together. It's a ton of back end work. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of it.
No problem. Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.